All right. Yeah. Well, welcome everyone. And today we are very happy to have a chance to share the stage with our partners, Jeannine and Sami at the Clearway. And we're going to share a story of, in fact, our collective story, right? Like how we work together to build AI for Clearway and to serve their patients. So maybe we can do a quick round of intro. Jeannine, you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeannine. I currently serve as Vice President of Patient Access and Experience for Clearway Pain Solutions. Before coming into healthcare, I actually spent over 20 years, to kind of show my age there a little bit, but I've spent over 20 years leading contact centers and customer experience in retail, primarily with IKEA. And I do really feel like the experience that I have in retail helped me in healthcare because it's not that much different. Retail taught me to really look at every interaction through the customer's eyes. Customers, they just want it to be easy. They want simple, a simple way to shop. They want to remove any friction. And with healthcare, even though obviously it's more complex, but patients are still people, they're still consumers. And so they just want to be heard and they still want clear communication. And above all, they just want access to timely care. So I do feel that retail just helps shape how I approach patient experience today.
Great. Uh, that that is that's really good to hear. So, Sandy,
I have 15 years in call center experience. I've worked in federal, I've worked in the market, government, different fields. So I am also new to healthcare. Jeannine had brought me on to healthcare as well. And similar to Jeannine, I think, at the base of whatever industry, and when it comes to a call center, it's about the patient. And what I found is, regardless of the field that you're in, the focus is to get resolution. I just think healthcare, you had a higher sensitivity because, again, patients are at the worst moment of life. No one just calls their doctor, says everything's great, just checking up on you. So I think it's really important of, focusing on the patient experience. That's why I love Jeannine's title, VP of Patient Experience, because there's so many things that applies to when it comes to the patient experience.
Awesome. Thanks, Sammy. Kevin Henrikson, co-founder of Pretty Good AI, been working in tech for almost 27 years now. And basically all those years with JJ, which is kind of cool. Did email for about 18 years. Our last company we sold to Microsoft that became Outlook. And then after that, sold a company to Instacart to do grocery delivery through the pandemic, which was an interesting time. So, JJ?
yeah. Well, my name is JJ Zhuang. Hello, everyone. And I'm a co-founder of Pretty Good AI. So, one thing to point out is every time, because, Kevin and I, we have shared our entire career together. This is actually our 8th company together. So because of that, every time Kevin goes first in an intro, I just have nothing left to say. So all I can say is, our specialty is we harness the top talent of Silicon Valley and also the cutting edge technology of the day to solve real world problems. And, if you look at our journey, right, as Kevin mentioned, we went from email AI to grocery AI, and now we do healthcare AI. I think that's an upgrade. And, we spent about 27 years together, a little bit longer than Jeannine and Sami. But one thing we share in common is we are even newer in healthcare, right, compared to you two. So we're lifelong learner, and we're having a lot of fun. Let's see. I'm the one running slide. So next slide.
Cool.
So yeah, Kevin.
Yeah. So I think, one of the things that a lot of practices are being asked these days is not only to cut costs or drive revenue, but actually both, right? How can you sort of, save money in terms of the efficiency of how the practice is run while sort of being able to drive additional revenue or additional sort of, sort of like a sort of volume through the business? Or, if you're in a more value-based care model, how do you close care gaps, right? And so really thinking about, how do you sort of kind of do two things at once, and then do that with, sort of budgets that many times are under a lot of pressure to get lower. The next slide. And as we've talked to a lot of practices, one of the things we hear, and I mean, this famous MIT study went very viral, earlier this year, was the idea that just most AI pilots fail. And I think for us, really what we wanted to talk to about today, and we're just blessed to have the Clearway team with us, is to kind of talk through about what went right and what are the things that they did to make sure that their pilot, was successful and ultimately led to an increasingly sort of efficient outcome. And so I think some of those points that we'll go through are just about everyone's trying AI, everyone's talking about AI, but really like, how do you become one of the 5%? How do you become one of the ones that is successful? And I think that's the magic of what we were going to do today.
And Kevin, I will add one of my favorite things about the HCCT conference that I mentioned and someone talking about is AI is an additional tool for the organization.
Yeah.
So, and the thing about lots of organizations have multiple tools, but it's how you use it. So even if AI comes to an organization, it's how you use it.
Yeah.
That's going to give you the value out of it. So when I see this percentage and this failure, it makes me think it's like they probably had it integrated, but they weren't using it to its full capability.
Yeah.
So
No, it's a great
I
point.
like this slide because of that specific point.
No, I agree. I like it.
Yeah, Sami, it's a great point. And also, I just noticed something I didn't notice before. This, it kind of tells you how fast things are moving because this report is exactly 1 year old, right? But look at
Yeah.
the title, the Gen AI divide. Remember the good old time that the people still talk about Gen AI? And then in 2026, nobody used the word Gen AI anymore. Changing.
I feel like they broke the mold with the dancing robots. It made us less, wary. You're right. It's crazy. I'm looking at July, and in 1 year, how AI's looked at completely. Even with me, Jeannine, when we went to a Athena conference, we didn't know the capabilities of what it existed yet.
Cool. So I think, the big part of this is how do you find the right partner? How do you make sure you're in the 5%? And with that, would love to hand it over to Sami and Jeannine to kind of talk through, where they started.
Yeah. So just to give you guys some context on Clearway. So we are the largest pain management organization in the country. So pretty awesome. We support 150, plus clinics across 10 different states with one centralized patient access team that's managing, as you can see, a lot of calls every day and every month. So what that means is that, we are coordinating care across, 100 plus providers, different specialties, many different scheduling workflows. And so while patients, see us as one organization, there is a tremendous amount of complexity that's actually happening behind the scenes that they don't see. And so as we were beginning to grow and growing rapidly, which is a good thing, because now we're able to, provide care to many more patients. But what that means, of course, is that call volume is going to go up. More patients, more people that need service. And patients do want to get care and they do want to get service, as fast as they can. And we knew that just having, a new hire class every month, every other month, like that wasn't going to be a sustainable long-term solution. And so I really was looking at how can we scale without sacrificing quality? Because I didn't want, the greatness of our growth, to come at the expense of that patient experience. And so then for us, it was how could we utilize, AI to assist us with that? So AI again wasn't our strategy. Our strategy was still patient access. It's just the AI was a simple way to get there. And so as Sami and I started meeting with different vendors and going to different conferences, we quickly learned that AI is a buzzword that takes on a lot of different meanings. So for a lot of different organizations, they will offer you, and say that they have AI, but for what we needed it for, a lot of the times those other vendors just were not up to the level that we needed. So then we were so happy, and just by chance, we were able to meet JJ and Kevin at the Athena conference. And so, it was fate. It was meant to be. And they quickly did a demo. Like they called right into one of their existing clients and let us hear it. Like they weren't scared to show it to us. They weren't scared to do something live. Like it really was just so like, in the moment. And right away, Sam and I kind of looked at each other and we're like, they got something here.
Every time me and Jeannine would talk to someone and they would say AI and they would say, well, show it to us.
Yeah.
No one could ever show it to us. So it's like, it was a myth. And the ones that they did show us to us, I don't consider AI. Just transcribing is not AI for our practice.
Yeah. And so again, we ended up going, with PGA. Again, we got to meet the team in person, which I think is super valuable when you get to just see how you guys are going to interact and really just hear from them and get to see their passion and see what they built, and knew that what they built really was a good match for what we were looking for. We needed to have a partner that was willing to learn with us. This is Sami and I's first time launching, such a massive AI project. We've done some other technology implementations across multiple organizations, but this was the first time like a real AI. So again, I wanted a partner that would again learn with us and help us know that our workflows and maybe everything wasn't going to be perfect on day one. Like even though we've already launched, even just yesterday, I am still tweaking it. I'm always going back in and trying to update it. And they're so great and easy to work with. And they really just listen to our feedback and they're helping us also look at ways that we can continuously improve.
And to add to Jeannine's point, specifically on the slides, as you notice, I didn't feel like we had to do a patchwork of blanket where different vendors to do different things. But what really caught me in Jeannine's eyes is the ability that the PGA had the ability to encompass every task that we needed. So creating cases, being able to schedule, run details, validate the notes in the profile where, I think a lot of practices know that sometimes you have to get this solution from this person, this solution from this person, and put it together to create what you need. So that was one of the things where me and Jeannine were sitting there like, oh, you can do this and this
Especially
and
into the
this.
team. Like not just
Yeah, exactly.
integrate to like book an appointment, but actually be able to go into that patient's chart and all the logics and the way we've been able to build it, like they truly integrate with Athena. It's not just like a layer on top, like they're in there.
Yeah, thank you, Jeannine and Sami, for saying all that. But look, one thing that really sort of resonates with us is just the journey, we spent together and learning together, right? Because so there are a lot of new things and technologies that are evolving fast, right? So even if we somehow, anyone could think that today we understand what's going on, tomorrow is a new day. So the will be, the fun part of this is really just to, keep learning and keep working together, right? So the every day you want to tweak something that please continue to have that urge.
Yeah, it's cool to be challenged. And I think the one thing that when I kind of met you guys at the conference, we were talking about like at the time, I think we supported about 120 APIs on Athena. Today, it's about 350 APIs. And a lot of that's from ideas that came from you guys of like, hey, we've got multiple entities and different locations and different, states and different rules and regulations. And our, patients go here for follow-up and they go here for procedures. And just, as we run into new things, we sort of get this ability to sort of really think across that and kind of add to that shared brain. And so it allows us to actually build a solution that's just smarter and smarter for your practice because it is able to see, kind of all of the steps of a patient's journey from when they discover the practice, get referred all the way to the point that they kind of get in the room with the provider. And then again, when they leave the room, what can we do around that, around auth and understanding the procedures that they're going to need later, the orders, the medications that they're going to, that they were sort of, sort of prescribed. And then how do we deal with billing and insurance and thinking about, collecting bills and stuff like that. And for us, it was like, JJ and I are tech people. When we came in to healthcare, we're like, it's so weird. Like so many of these healthcare things are very tiny silo apps where it's like, oh, you have an app for fax, an app for SMS, an app for this mobile thing. And you're like, I'm like, why would you not just build one AI brain that sits across Athena that's well integrated? And so I think for us, it's been both fun to learn like historically how things have been built in healthcare, but also be able to kind of, learn from folks like you that have been doing it for now decades and sort of see where we can be helpful.
I'll say another big thing that I really liked with you guys was that you can easily transfer to a person. Because one thing that's really important to us here at Clearway is that we like to give our patients choices. So they have a choice. I don't think patients wake up and they're like, oh, I can't wait to talk to a robot today. But
Yeah.
they do wake up and they want to get the help they need. And so by offering them AI, and whether it's other, digital tools that we have, we just try to meet the patients where they're at. And so again, your ability to seamlessly transfer them to a person was also really key to why we went with you guys.
Well, Jeannine, we are setting a secret goal that we actually want some patients to really look forward to talk to Daisy again. That will be the day. But I think that some patients are showing us attendance. We have seen feedback that they love the fact that they can get Daisy on the phone anytime they want. And but we want to even like go beyond that. But I think that we touched on a lot of these points here. But are there anything else to add before we move on?
Well, I specifically would want to focus on, I think where me and Jeannine kind of, I want to say the most impressed where I took away from this. I don't want to speak on your behalf, Jeannine, but I do like how we were able to ramp up from going from our initial conversations, reviewing our material, and then kind of doing that working session of talking through the patient experience. I believe from that, actually, when we were like, doing our power hours and testing, I thought that was very impressive how quickly we were able to, right, especially with the amount of complexity we have. Me and Jeannine, like, are we sure? You guys, you sure? And you guys like, no, honestly, it's been a exciting journey to see from where we started to where we are now, how we keep expanding the containment to include more tasks to, as Jeannine's point, meet the patient where they want to be. Whatever they need, we'll meet you there and provide you the service your way.
Yeah, that is our mindset because Sami, the reason we really want to do this is because early on, Kevin pointed out, the MIT study that a lot of the projects fail, right? Why does it fail? Because they didn't, because, if you just focus on AI as just something that people buy and use, right, then inevitably it will fail because, anything that you want to use and you need to change your organization or use something, the chance of creating additional friction is much, much higher, right? So our mindset is you guys already run a very successful business, and our AI should just come in and learn everything you already do and fit seamlessly in without incurring any change.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, there's always more unknowns, right? So that's why, Sami, the experience you described is so important to us.
Yeah.
All right. So now, because, we talked about how our team and the Clearway team with Jeannine and Sami, we worked really closely together, and we built something that is almost like 100% bespoke for Clearway, right, to serve your patients. And I'm really proud of the result. It's not just the metrics that Jeannine talked to earlier, right? It's, we really care about the patient experience. And so I'm going to show two calls, one inbound, one outbound, just to give you a sense of how it works.
And before you play that, Jeannine, do you want to put your disclaimer on here?
All right. So as we're playing the call, when you hear that beep noise, like don't be alarmed. It's not a cuss word. It's just us making sure that PHI.
Yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling Clearway Pain Solutions. I am Daisy. Am I speaking with?
Yes,
How can I help you today?
my pharmacy can't fill my prescription. I need to have my prescription transferred to a different pharmacy.
Please provide your date of birth. I can help with transferring your prescription to a different pharmacy. Which pharmacy would you like to use now?
CVS?
Is it a different CVS location than your current one at 120?
Yes, it's a different one.
Please provide the address or cross streets of the new CVS pharmacy you want to use. Which medication do you need transferred to this new CVS location?
Hydrocodone, 10 milligrams.
Just to confirm, you want to transfer your hydrocodone 10 milligrams acetaminophen 325 milligrams tablet prescription to the CVS. Is that correct?
Yes.
Your request to transfer your prescription has been sent to the clinic team. They will process it and follow up with you, usually within 24 to 48 business hours. Is there anything else I can help you with today?
No.
You're all set. Have a great day.
That was Daisy. And yeah, she's great. And, this kind of call is pretty routine. People call to change pharmacy, right? But even routine calls, to get it to 100% right every single time there's quite a bit of challenge there, right? And, even just the fact that you need to get to the exact medication right, the exact location of the new pharmacy right. Like, the caller may not even know the exact address of the new location, right? So they may give you the street name only or the cross street or some other description, and then Daisy need to figure out which pharmacy it is, right? So now I'm gonna play a second call, and this one is Daisy make an outbound call to schedule an appointment.
Well, JJ, before you play, I did want to add one more thing. Specifically, because what I liked about that call, because to Jeannine's point, with so many complexity to our organization, when that case gets created, the AI is identifying where the patient has gone, what bucket to put that case in, make sure that it gets to the right team to make sure, to Jeannine's point, the patient has a smooth experience. So I think the stuff that you don't see, like you're just noticing the talk and there's all this back end that's being done to make sure it gets to the right team for the right resolution, which I think is what me and Jeannine like so much, because again, that is a complexity. Every state, every office, every region has their own ways of working.
Yeah, it was kind of cool because I think one of the things we discovered with your team, which was somewhat unique, is that you do have different offices, different locations, and different providers, right? They see one provider for their medication and potentially a different provider for procedures, and that could change on a month-to-month basis depending on where they are in their treatment. And I think training Daisy to know where to go look and how to understand if somebody's calling. Like I remember a funny one we had. It's like, hey, where's my appointment? And it's like, oh, was it your last appointment? Is it your next appointment? And I think that sort of like was really cool to have to know the context of your sort of organization, but also how those charts are built. And it's unique to Athena that honestly, no one we've worked with has had that sort of setup that was kind of interesting to build for.
Yeah. And Thanks for pointing that out because routing the case to the right queue, to right bucket is so important because, people call, they want to change their pharmacy. They want to get that resolved as soon as possible, right? So if we ever route to the wrong place, it just get delayed. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Now, the second call, this is Daisy making an outbound call, right?
Hello.
Hello, this is Clearway Pain Solutions. I'm calling to help you schedule a procedure appointment. Am I speaking to?
Yeah.
To verify your identity, could you please confirm your full date of birth? I have an order on file for a steroid shot in your lower back and SI joint. Can you confirm that's the procedure you're scheduling today?
Yeah, that's the one. But can you describe the procedure a little bit more to me?
This procedure is a steroid injection for your lower back and sacroiliac joint. It's done to help reduce pain and inflammation in that area. The doctor uses a special x ray to guide the injection, and you'll get moderate sedation to help you relax. You'll need someone to drive you home afterward. If you have more questions, the clinic can give you more details. Would you like to go ahead and schedule?
Sounds good.
We have openings this week and early next week for your procedure. Do you have a preferred day or time of day for your appointment?
As soon as possible, I guess.
Have you been prescribed or taken any antibiotics in the last 14 days?
No.
The soonest available procedure appointment is Thursday, June 4th.
Yeah, let's do that.
You're all set for your procedure. If you have any other questions or need to make changes, just let us know.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, outbound call is another critical way of engaging patients, right? And then Daisy makes a lot of the outbound calls because, it can be things like the opening just became available or a prior auth for a procedure just got approved, right? So it happens all the time. But, to get it always right is, it's always tricky because we all heard that, AI hallucinates and may not follow instruction every time. There's a lot of truth to that. But before I get into that, Jeannine, Sami, any other comments you want to add?
I was saying I did already tweak the scripting for the outbound calls. So we just made it a little more conversational. I just added a couple of things in there, but I
Yeah.
think overall, again, those quick turnarounds. I'm always listening. I'm just trying to see, what are patients really adapting to? Like, what are they going to engage with more? So I just changed some of the wording.
And I think it's great because I think, you're unique in that sense in a lot of cases because a lot of our customers like kind of set the language and roll with it, where I think you spend this time to sort of understand like, hey, what's working, what's not working, and sort of just like you would sit like in a coaching room with your team, kind of
Yeah.
coach them on, hey, guys, let's try this little sort of way, or how do we be a little more empathetic, or like, make sure that the language isn't as alarming to them if it's a tough situation we need to deal with. And I think it's been fun to like, work these tunings and then also see that sort of show up in the survey results where people are like, oh, wow, this is, better than they would have expected, which is cool.
Yeah, because I do see it as, just like you said, I'm coaching Daisy.
Yeah.
I'm giving her feedback on how to say things to patients. Again, it's kind of like what is going to work for them. And I just want it to be an experience where they get off the phone and they're like, oh, I was heard. I got the care that I needed, but they also really listened to me. And I don't want them to feel like they're just talking to a robot. And when we listen to the calls, and there's plenty of calls I've listened to where patients, some of them don't even know that she's AI. Like they tell her to have a nice day. They call in, they're like, oh, yay, Daisy, I got you again. So they are already like building a connection with her,
That's cool.
which
That's
I really
great.
like. And I always try to make sure when I'm tweaking the words, it's important that it's still like like the Clearway tone of voice, so I try to make sure that still comes across because, she's representing our organization. So it's the same way, we tweak just even like our scripting per se with our coworkers.
Jeannine, is that from your retail related background? Because you're always thinking about how to serve the customers better, right?
Yeah, and I think I just always try to put myself in their shoes,
Yeah.
just like we're all retail customers, we all go shopping, but we are also patients in healthcare. And so
Absolutely.
even when I do go, honestly, since I've been in healthcare, it's probably not a good thing for my like current providers, whether it's my dermatologist or even like my kid's pediatrician, because I am like judging them now on their check-in process and how easy it was for me to schedule. And now that I can also, see more behind the scenes of what can be done, I feel like more because that's what I want to give our patients. Like I want everyone to walk away and get the care that they need. And I want to make it as easy for them as I can. Because I feel like if it's easy, they're going to want to do it. I don't want to make it hard. I want to remove as many barriers as I can I mean, just in what we do in pain management, the patients are already scared. They're already nervous. They're in pain. They're uncomfortable. They're anxious. And so anything that we can do to ease that for them and get them looking forward to coming to their appointment and wanting to come in to get the help that they need, that again is how I look at it when I'm listening to the calls and looking at our training materials, just to give them a good experience that they walk away from and they feel more comfortable and they want to go. Because it's one thing, like I always say, it's one thing to book the appointment, right? It's another to get them in the door.
Yeah.
So my ultimate goal is to get them in the door in front of one of our amazing providers, and then they can get the care that they need.
100%. And, every day we should all, when I say that it's continuous learning, always learning, right? A lot of it is learning the empathy, right? Because, patients calling it, they're calling because they have a need, and then many of them are in pain, and every day this is a huge responsibility. Like how can we make our AI a little bit better every day so that patients' experience can be a little better because they are already going through a lot otherwise. Yeah. So now let me explain because when you are listening to the calls, right, there seems to be this lava lamp thing going on in the back, right? So what is this? So because that is not really 100% reliable, right? Because it's indeterminate nature, right? But in order to build Daisy so that she can be always accurate on every call, every experience, is we need to actually do a lot in the background, beneath the surface. So there's this huge machinery that is going on when a call is going on. So every caller conversation, we call it a turn, right? Every time that the caller says something, behind the scene, there's this machinery. Daisy is traversing all these logical nodes to make decisions on what to say next and what action to take next. And this is the guardrail that we provide so that Daisy can stay on point step by step, or always doing the correct thing, right? So without this, hallucination will happen and all that will happen. So I always tell our team that AI is never perfect, but with all these checks and balances, we can make AI pretty good.
Yeah.
And
That
JJ, I will add. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jeannine.
I'm going to say that's super overwhelming, that part. I'm glad you guys understand it. I just get to tell you, here's what I want, and then you do all the magic behind the scenes.
And that's what I was going to add on, Jeannine, is like, when you look at this, it's so much, but what I like is it's customizable to the organization. Where I'm reading some of these now where it says like about the task, transfer call. If you don't want something to be done, that's where, using the tool to what matches to your organization. PGA counters of that, I hate to say this, like those like wrenches that fit any type of bolt. It's universal into what you want to pick and choose. Yeah, because when me and Jeannine saw this as well, we're just like, oh, that's a lot. But then when you actually read it, I'm like, no, this is what we do. This is what we do. This is what we do. That's like, okay, it makes all sense. But this is, to me, is like the soul of AI behind the scenes. That's a take a guess.
Yeah. So maybe you guys can now talk about the impact you see.
So obviously we, from the day that we launched it, we were able to see immediate impacts to our patient experience and really the access. Again, what the beauty with AI is you always have plenty of people to answer the phone. So when Daisy, clocks in for the day, we know 100% of calls are getting answered, like the second that they call. So that, of course, is really important to us. And then the containment. So with containment, I will say, I don't ever want it to be 100%. And I know that for some people that they might not understand that, but I do believe that even though AI can handle a lot, I don't think that it should handle everything. I think there's some things you have to be intentional that you don't want it to handle. And I think that's just as important and honestly responsible. So we don't ever want it to be 100. Obviously, we're going to continue to tweak it. I would love it to be closer, to that 60, 70, which we already do have some of our regions at the higher marks, which has been really great. But, for us, again, we do have certain things that I want to get to a person. Again, just because Daisy could do it doesn't mean she should. So I do want to get that to a person. And then, for our existing patients, I think sometimes when it's new and they quickly say, that they want to talk to a person, like I said, we transfer them to a person because I want to give them the option. But I'm hoping that the more they call in, right, they're going to get more comfortable and give her a chance, and also we have not done really like any promotion around her. So patients don't even, like I said, they don't even really know that we offer it, which always could be something that we look at in the future so that they're expecting it when they call. But to start off the bat and to have it contain so much has been really promising. But we are always obviously looking to improve a little more with what we can. And then hanging just as fast as we were able to deploy it has been huge for us. Really, we went slower because of us, not because of PGA. Because one of the things that I think goes back to getting your organization to buy in is when you're doing this, it's a lot about communication within the stakeholders, getting them comfortable with it, getting, them involved. So we started doing what we would call AI power hours. And so we would let AI be live in our queue for an hour. And I would set out like meeting invitations and invite providers and office staff, even HR, or inviting stakeholders across the organization to come in and, test Daisy out. I always say she's ready to go to work. She got her coffee, her headset's on, she's good to go. Test her out, give her the hardest thing you can do. And I think in doing it and kind of playing up the fun of it, we really did get a lot of engagement from our stakeholders. So when we were ready to really flip that switch and go live, everyone was excited. There wasn't really any hesitation there. But to me, it was all the preparation we did getting to that point. And then again, being intentional on how we did it. So doing the 1 hours, and then we would do like half a day, and then we might do a whole day. And it's kind of like building up to when she's like officially on the clock 24/7. So again, just intentional and like in a controlled environment. And I also really loved doing the command centers with you guys. So as we're launching the power hours, for us to have that separate time to the side where we can monitor the calls as they come in. Again, make tweaks if we need it and really identify if there's something that we need to do. I think that real time makes such a difference as well. And then again, adding in the stakeholders to join that so they get to experience that. So it's been really, really good for us so far. As you could see, the results speak for themselves, but we're not done yet. This was just the beginning. And we purposely too kind of started with the easier workflows, if you will. I did see that there was a question in the chat about the return on investment. And if you want, I can just kind of
Go for it.
quick because it kind of goes into the results. So then for us, when we wanted AI, it wasn't just, I want AI to have AI. It really was, again, about being able to scale with the growth of the organization and being able to provide our patients with access that they needed and to be able to do that efficiently. So we purposely chose, again, these like easier workflows, if you will, to really, again, show the organization what it can do before now we go into the more complex and the more revenue driving, like the driving revenue workflows over the easier ones. So when we went in, to speak with our C-suite, again, it wasn't just like, could we afford it? Because I presented it to them in a way that it was going to be budget mutual. It was, how can I use the money you're already investing in our staff and let's scale it and make it work for us in a better way. So it's not going to cost you anything. So I think being able to go in and kind of present it that way, as it's not going to require some big investment, and I can have it so cover it within the investment you've already made, but I can provide better service and give our patients a better experience. That really helped sell it across. And then now we will start going into the more complex, things that AI can do to really, again, scale even further.
And I'd like to add, because I feel like Jeannine's being a little too humble, but part of that budget neutral is very key to understand. And I think that's where we worked well with PGA, where you guys helped us understand the capabilities and how that would work for our organization. So it's not only you guys are trying to get us to use AI, but you told us how AI would work with our organization. And Jeannine was able to take that and build a case for the organization. And I think, when you bring data that way, it's hard for anyone to just want to say no. Of course, you have reluctant people who fear AI, of course. But again, I think with the way Jeannine handled the power hours and including every level in the organization, from reps to providers to the C-suite, they were involved in the entire journey. And I think that played a big part into getting that buy-in.
Again, it's just about the case.
Certainly, we knew some of that, right? But really, it's so refreshing to hear all of these careful planning because, hearing this, it makes me even feel that no wonder 95% of the projects fail, right? Because to make something successful, it just takes a lot of this kind of, not just the true partnership, which we already have, right? But also you guys doing all this work behind the scene to communicate and over communicate in a larger organization like Clearway. Yeah. So maybe in the interest of time, we can fast forward some of this, and maybe we can, I think that you guys already talked about this, but is there anything else to add here?
No.
No, it's probably already all covered, right?
No, I think Jeannine covered this very well on that part.
In the end, it's about also because all the healthcare organizations, it's also a business, right? In order to serve patients well, it's need to also run as a business well. So we'd like to also continue to partner with you, not just to, cut costs, but also to, continue to drive revenue forward.
Yeah, especially when I look at this slide, it ties back to your outbound call earlier, JJ, you had shown, because I do think that's a key part as well. Because again, I think with any organization, when you make outbound calls, trying to connect with patients, we all know the connection rate and that lift to just get the patient on the call can be difficult at times. So I know, even that outbound call, understanding how that could take that lift away and help us connect and bridge that gap could also, bring us to that next level, as Jeannine said, layering what we're trying to do, but start with the simple stuff and then build from there. Because the more organizational confidence you have, the more we can then partner with, our partner here, PGA, to take our organization to the next level with AI.
100%.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. And I think the cool thing about the way you described it is like there's this kind of extra ROI where you're like, if you had, more call center hours or more team hours to do some other follow-ups, to do, care gap closures, to do sort of like, a lot of times campaigns, we're talking to one practice and they were like afraid to send a big campaign out because it would have too many calls back, right? Where it's like, it would overwhelm the call center. And so now
You're talking to me and Jeannine. Every time a campaign comes out, like, well, let the team know call volume might go up.
Yeah.
Again, that's the whole point of a campaign, is to drive that in. But to your point, that needs to be handled by somebody, or now with AI's ability to help us on that, to carry that lift.
Yeah, cool. So we want to like kind of end by the top of the hour, I think. So maybe jump into we can talk through a little bit about the framework. And then, I have a couple questions that have come in. We'll try to get to those shortly. So I think the first, sort of when we think about this adoption journey, it's like really prove the foundation, right? How do we quickly get out and find a workflow and show the teams working together and understand kind of the requirements to get this up and running? And so Sami and Jeannine basically got us, the environment, connected the phones, got the first queue. We did these kind of 1 hour power hours. We even had one customer where they paid their entire call center a full hour of overtime to sort of like pressure test it, right? So like, but I love that Jeannine brought in like all these cross-functional partners to really go there. And then kind of as you get back to kind of week 5, week 6, we start to expand. Hey, what other queues? What other workflows? How do we sort of expand the knowledge? Just like you're training a new hire, right? You think of AI as a new hire. They come in, they know nothing about the organization. You need to train them, work through that. And as they get, comfortable doing, kind of level 1 tasks, level 2 tasks, level 3 tasks, you keep working that up. And then finally, kind of this third pillar of the journey is like, how do you actually drive revenue and growth and do things you just didn't have time to do or didn't have the investment to make that you now can do because you have this sort of broader AI tool set that you can kind of put to work to do, whatever sort of automation or workflow things you need to do. So maybe next slide, we'll walk through a little bit on the kind of a timeline, again, we see kind of 3 to 6 weeks as kind of the typical, but again, it really varies by the organization in terms of, how things are documented. I think Jeannine mentioned this at the top, that they had spent a lot of time building SOPs, and Sami's team has detailed sort of work logs for a lot of these processes. And that was able to get us going quickly. But even there's little things that the team had learned or little changes that we had to refine. And so you kind of learn that as you're going through this kind of training and controlled launch. And then when you get to the point where that's comfortable, you kind of pop into expansion. I think the other thing that we think is a little different in the way we approach it is that so many healthcare sort of vendors out there try to charge like this long multi-year contracts or lock you into some kind of fixed thing. And our whole model is like, JJ and I have been doing this for a while, collectively 5 decades now. And we want customers that are happy and love us. All of our customers are referenceable. All of our pilots where they've engaged in this sort of process has converted to paid. We've never lost a customer, and it's all month to month, like free 30-day pilot. It's month to month because we want to put our money where our mouth is and basically show you that, hey, we're going to make it work and we're going to do what it takes to find those refinements and find how your organization, how your Athena is set up, how you use Athena, how your templates are set up. And we found that sort of process ends up leading to a much longer term and happier relationship where we can go and do a lot of things together. And we just feel that that's a more fun way to build a business, quite frankly, at this point. And also just, we find customers that are a lot more excited to sort of work with us. So at some level, it's not a fit for everybody. And we don't think of it as like, hey, we're trying to sell you into this multi-year contract. It's like, no, it's month to month. If you love it, you're going to keep coming back and we're going to sort of earn our keep on a regular basis.
So the funny thing is, when he said that to me at the conference, me and Jeannine kind of looked at each other like, is he for real? Like, because again, to me, that was also a plus. Finding the right partner is, some people just want to get you in a long-term relationship. And I'm like, I don't even know if it's going to work yet. Like, let's see where we are. Where you guys were like, no, let's build the concept. Like you said, discovery, then training, then controlled launch. And then we went into, okay, let's expand and see what other areas we can do.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine that's in sales, and he was like, "Why would you try to do a pilot? That's extra work. That's going to make it harder to sign the long-term deal." I'm like, "Well, we're not signing a long-term deal. The pilot's to actually provide this kind of two-way fit, and like, so are we going to, work well together?" And yeah, it's been interesting. As we move towards the close, I think we have a couple questions. Sami, I think one question that has come up kind of in a couple different ways here in the chat is, how did you sort of prepare your team, right? Like, you have this team that's been working with you, building these processes and executing this. Like, how did you prepare them to sort of like, have a new hire that's going to join their team that looks very different than sort of their other new, the rest of the team members?
Well, honestly, and again, maybe I'll let Jeannine take this one, but it really was, we didn't do it in a silo. Like, as soon as we wanted to go them, I remember Jeannine's like, let's do an offsite. Let's get our leadership first. Because again, everyone, when they hear AI, is, of course, the first thing that goes in your head, I'm going to be replaced, or this is going to take my, and I get that. It's a natural fear. But Jeannine was very clear, and again, I'll let you go from here, but it was all about, this is a tool. This is to partner with you. Let it handle the simple tasks. You can handle the complexity.
Yeah, I think that's what we show them is we really want their time to be spent on more value added calls and not some of those simple, repetitive, calls that we're getting in. So, I love AI, I do, but I always say it has to go hand in hand with people. Because that is what we are here for, is people. And so that's how, I just explained it to them and how we communicate it out and share the results with them. And we're also just very transparent. And so, and again, they're a part of the journey. So we have them call in and test and give us feedback. So I think anytime you can include people along the journey with you, you get their buy-in much quicker.
Last question. Anything that surprised you, like that you, were shocked about, or something that you saw as part of the process so far that's been surprising?
Jeannine, you can go first. I don't take yours, and then I'll go.
No, you can go.
Okay, so mine, honestly, I remember meeting you with Sight, one of your team members, and when we got in the whole conversation, because again, every time I've heard AI, my mindset goes to, well, can I read authorizations? Can I pull the information I needed to be able to manage those type of insurances? And when you guys were showing us and sending notes and all this, I don't want to say flabbergasted. Previous people that we spoken to didn't have that range of ability. So you were the actual one of the first AIs that showed me. Here's an example of one, and immediately sent the case and able to see the authorization dates. Because again, that's a big part of our organization and what we do. And seeing that it's able to do that and follow, to point, the guardrails, that shocked me, because that was also done within like the first 4 weeks. It wasn't like 6 months in. That within our training part, you guys were able to do that part. And that is a big part of our organization, because we use, charts, clinical tasks to speak to offices, providers, nurses, all within our organization. And that was a key part that AI had to do for us to be successful, for AI to be that 5% of 95. That was a requirement, and I was shocked how easily it just worked.
Yeah. I would just say for me, I think what surprised me was, I do understand that change is difficult for a lot of people. And as I started speaking with even providers, I'll go into the clinics and I'll talk to the providers about what's coming and we're bringing AI, is that our providers and, even our C-suite, people weren't, I think, anything negative. Like everyone was so open to it. And I love that, here at Clearway, that all of our leaders and our providers, like, they do consider the costs too of just standing still. So I think as patient expectations like continue to evolve and that demand continues to grow as we're expanding, if we don't innovate thoughtfully, we have that risk of falling behind. And so that to me was really kind of like a takeaway. Like, it's not just a can we afford it, but it's like, could we not afford it? Like, could we afford not to do it with our growth?
Every time I hear that from somebody, the first thing I think of, Blockbuster really should have bought Netflix. Every time I hear that statement of choosing to be like, hey, we're good right now, and passing up, and again, it just always replays in my head, because that's such a big thing of you can die just standing still, unfortunately.
JJ, any closing thoughts?
So I just want to say, like, first of all, everything you guys said is so well said. And it's just been such a rewarding journey working with you